After dinner, Amma wandered about the sparsely furnished house, sifting through their clothes, sheets, and cookware. She lifted a round plastic clock from the wall and tossed it into the open suitcase that used to hold Natsia's Jehe. Although it pained her to watch Amma pack away their meager possessions, Natsia knew she was only preparing for the inevitable. If they didn't find a place soon, by this time tomorrow they would be out on the street. The night air was heavy with damp heat and the accumulated fumes from nearby traffic. Natsia sat in the open doorway in the hopes of catching a breeze, but nothing stirred. She spotted the lanky shape of a man striding toward her in the distance. She squinted, then relaxed when she realized it wasn't Abu. When he didn't veer off toward one of the other houses, she craned her neck as she watched him come toward her. Who could he be? A gravelly voice called out, "Natsia, is that you?" Natsia stood quickly and draped her dupatta on her head just as the man reached her, his thin frame towering over her. He touched her head lightly. "Natsia, Beta, don't you recognize me?" Natsia peered up into his face. His eyes were hidden behind a large pair of thick-rimmed glasses, and a thin graying mustache lined his upper lip. "Uncle Tariq." "Assalamu alaikum," she said slowly. What was he doing here? Had Abu contacted him about the missing dowry? She backed away to go into the house. "Abu isn't home, but Amma is. Please come in." She wanted to warn her mother, but Uncle Tariq was right behind her, his greeting a booming invasion in the small house. Amma hurriedly dropped a cloth into the suitcase and smiled broadly. "Tariq, bye! What a pleasant surprise!" At Natsia's gentle prodding, Isha moved Mateen from the small sofa and settled him on the mattress to make room for Uncle Tariq. The man sank into the cushions with his knees jutting awkwardly close to his chest. He rested his wide hands on his thighs and looked around the disheveled room. Natsia sidled over to the suitcase, flipping over the lid to cover their belongings. "Where is Selim?" "I'm not sure." Amma's voice cracked when she spoke. "But he'll be home soon, and I know he'll be happy to see you. You must be hungry after your long train ride. Did you come straight from the station? You should have told us you were coming, and then I could have prepared a proper meal." "Would you have had the time?" The knob in Uncle Tariq's throat bobbed up and down. "Nasim, you probably don't even have the strength to cook for your own family." Amma clasped her hands behind her back. "What do you mean? Of course I can cook." Uncle Tariq pushed his glasses up on his bony nose and gave Amma a worried look. "I mean with the houses you clean all over Karachi. You must be exhausted." Amma blinked rapidly. "Tariq Bai, please let me explain. There is so much that you do not know." "I know more than you think, I'm afraid. One of the villagers who worked at the site where Selim was injured came home a few days ago and brought me news of his accident. Naturally, I worried about my brother." He removed his glasses and began wiping the lenses with a corner of his kurta. "I do not understand how my brother can break his legs. His injuries were not that severe, and he is getting better." Uncle Tariq shook his head. "But he was injured enough to lose his job, right? Why didn't he inform me? How long has it been? Almost 2 months?" Natsia stepped forward. "Uncle Tariq, we didn't want to worry you." He put his glasses back on. "Not worry me? Beta, I have been half out of my mind with worry. Your Abu is the only brother I have. He is precious to me, and most importantly, his daughter is precious to me." Natsia's cheeks reddened. "I came because I have heard nothing from Selim, and the villagers' news about his injuries was concerning to me as well as my son. Salman asked me to come to Karachi to check on his future wife, to find out if your family needed anything. I thought maybe Selim could use my help after the accident. Some money for food or rent until his injuries healed?" He shook his head. "I came in on the early morning train today." Uncle Tariq struggled to pull himself from the sofa, his shoulders hunched and his brows drawn together. He clasped his wrists behind his back and began pacing in the cramped space. "When I came this morning, no one was here, not even Selim. I went to the neighbors, and they told me stories that I could not bring myself to believe. They said that Selim is a worthless loafer, his son is missing, and his wife and daughter are working as Masis. Nasim, is this true? Masis?" Natsia wished that she could say something to ease her uncle's shock. Clearly the news of them working as Masis was more upsetting than Abu's injuries. Suddenly she realized that Amma might have been wrong about not asking for money from Uncle Tariq in the first place. Perhaps he would have gladly given them the money rather than see his soon-to-be daughter-in-law become a Masi. But would he have thought less of her? She clenched her fists and prayed Amma could soothe him. Amma wiped her dupatta on her face. Salim's recovery has taken some time, but he'll soon be working again. Tariq Bahi, Natsia and I work only to pay for what we need, the rent, our food. Money must come from somewhere. But as a Masi, Nasim, how can you make such a decision for Natsia without coming to me first? I trusted you and Salim to take care of her while you were in Karachi. She is your daughter for only a short time, but she will be my son's wife for the rest of her life. Natsia cringed. He was embarrassed by her. Amma's expression turned grim. You think I enjoy cleaning houses or doing the bidding of the Mem Sahibs until my back is near breaking? Do you think I would do anything to endanger my daughter? We do what has to be done. Now, let me make you some tea, and then I will start on the food. Sit down, he said, exasperated. Natsia braced herself as Uncle Tariq grabbed her hands and examined her palms. See this? I knew it. Look at these Massey's hands. He clucked his tongue. Look at the poor girl. Her hands are hard and calloused like a man's. He stared at Natsia and dropped his voice. If your father was ill and your mother was making you clean houses, you at least could have sent word to me. I would have helped you, Beta. Natsia squirmed under her uncle's gaze. Would he have been able to keep her in school, she wondered? Would he still feel the same when he learned the Jehe was gone? He turned back to Amma. Is this the girl whom Salim promised to my son? You are exposing your daughter to the world for what? Some money? You all should have come to me after the accident. Salim swore to me that he would take care of you all in Karachi, especially Natsia, and had I known he'd go back on his word, I'd never have let him bring you here in the first place, not when Natsia is already spoken for. I know she is spoken for. I didn't tell you because of her wedding. I wanted to be sure we had enough to pay for the wedding. Uncle Tariq sat down again, his voice tired. You think I care more about the price of the wedding than the quality of the bride? Look at her, Nasim. How can I let my son marry a Masi? What will everyone back home say? I just don't understand why Salim never sent word to the village. I'll tell you why. Amma crossed her arms. Bilal disappeared before the accident. I know he left to find work because he took some of his clothes and his motorbike. On top of that, Natsia's Jehe was stolen. What? That's right. Salim was still sick, and there was no way to pay the rent. I was afraid that when you learned the Jehe was gone, you would postpone the wedding. Now he knew about the missing dowry. Would he delay the wedding? Natsia was confused by her own conflicting thoughts. Did she want the wedding postponed? If the marriage was delayed, would she have to continue working? If she married Salman, would she be able to finish school? Natsia felt the weight of her uncle's troubled gaze, and she averted her eyes in case he could read her mind. Uncle Tariq cracked his knuckles. Well, of course the dowry is critical in marriages, in every marriage. Just because Salim and I are brothers makes no difference in the matter of the dowry. And knowing that, how could we have come to you for help? Amma's eyes narrowed. That is why we kept on working, to rebuild the Jehe so my Natsia could come into your house and hold her head high. But what's the point? All our hard work was for nothing. What do you mean for nothing? He turned to Natsia. What does she mean? Natsia moved closer to the sofa. Amma gave Abu the money we needed to pay the landlord for rent, but he was robbed on the way. When we tried to explain, the landlord wouldn't give us any more time. We must leave this house by tomorrow. Maybe we can go back to the village with you. Amma touched Uncle Tariq's sleeve. Salim can rest there, and Natsia will be herself again. The air will soften her skin, and her sunspots will fade. When he is well, Salim can return to Karachi alone. He'll send money home, then the marriage can go on as planned. Natsia remained silent. Her fate rested with her uncle, and there was no way around it. He swallowed nervously. I don't know. Please, Tariq Bhai. Amma retracted her hand. At least wait for your brother and talk to him yourself. He looked at Natsia and Amma, then behind them at the children sitting on the mattress. All right, he said finally. I'll stay here tonight. When Salim comes home, then we'll decide what's best for our families. Don't worry yourself. Now all this talking has made me hungry. Amma forced a smile and moved toward the kitchen. We can fix that, she said. By the time I'm finished cooking, Salim should be home, and you can eat the meal together. Natsia, hurry and get the rice started. Natsia followed her mother, and they set about preparing the meal. She prayed Abu would return soon and appease his worried brother. She heard the television snap to life, blaring loudly in the background as Uncle Tariq made himself at home. The following day, Natia stood in front of Malia's house. Her best friend's arms clamped around her as they watched the landlord escort the new tenants into her home. Natia twisted her dupatta around her fists and pressed them against her mouth, trying hard to keep the swell of rage from choking her. Her face burned as she recalled the way her mother had wrapped herself around Uncle Tariq's legs only a few hours ago, all the while insisting that Abu would be home soon. Uncle Tariq had waited until nearly 4 in the afternoon, but Abu never came. He had shaken Amma off his feet like a dog ridding itself of fleas. "I'm sorry, Nasim, but please don't embarrass yourself," he said. "My hands are tied. I must do what is best for my son. Tell Selim that this will not be forgotten so easily." He glanced at Natia, then looked away. "We have no choice but to look to the village for my son's bride." Amma wiped her face with her tear-stained dupatta. "Take Natia with you. We'll send the Jehe in installments, if that's what you care about." "It's not just the dowry, Nasim," said Uncle Tariq. "Look at her. She is sickly. Her body is frail, her eyes are hollow, and her skin is darker than the dirt on the floor. And more than that, she has roamed the streets with you in the past few months, hardened herself to the gaze of the world, and tasted the money earned from her own sweat. People will find out. If Natia continues to earn for you, it won't be long before she begins to bend you to her will. If I take her back to the village, she'll make demands on my son and turn him against me." His voice stammered at the thought. I cannot tolerate that. "She is only a child. She wouldn't even begin to know how to manipulate a husband." "Who knows? I don't know her anymore. Selim is not here to make her case, and I won't let a woman, even you, Nasim, convince me of what is best for my son." Natia tried to console her mother. Amma held her hand firmly. "There is nothing wrong with my daughter," she said, thrusting her chin out and shaking her fist at her brother-in-law. "She's a hard-working girl. She helped her mother and did what her own father wouldn't. If you don't fulfill the arrangement, you'll regret it. Your brother's failings are not her fault." Uncle Tariq had left after that, and moments later the landlord had arrived with the new tenants. Iqbal gave Amma and the children only an hour to clear out their belongings, forcing them to leave behind the larger furniture, the couch, and the TV, claiming that it was all owed to him since the rent was still unpaid. Malia hugged Natia as the landlord's blue truck rumbled past them, the eviction complete. Natia watched the truck make its way alongside the cricket pitch, the tires leaving behind a trail of dust before it merged onto the main road. She wondered what would have happened if Abu had come home last night. Would he have been able to save their home? Would he have been able to convince Uncle Tariq that she was still a suitable bride for Salman? She tried to picture her cousin's face, but he was still only a blur in her mind. Uncle Tariq had said that Salman was eager to get married, but she wondered if he would pick another bride from the village as easily as he would choose mangoes from the market. Malia pulled Natia inside the house where Amma sat with her mother, speaking in low tones. Malia's older brother, Hisham, was in the kitchen eating a banana while he read from a textbook. Isha and Mateen were watching TV with Malia's little brother, too young to understand the true meaning of the unexpected visit to their neighbors. Natia's throat tightened at the sight of Isha staring up at the screen. Why couldn't she be a few years younger like Isha, so Amma didn't expect so much from her?